What's going on, YouTube?
Spirit Smoker here.
So, this is like my
6th attempt, I should say, to make a video today, and it's not going well. I'm
sort of
flustered today by everything that's been going on with this whole Cleveland, Ohio thing with this asshole Steve Stevens.
In case you don't know what happened,
he posted a Facebook Live video of him shooting an innocent 70-something-year-old Vietnam vet on Easter Sunday. And I hope you all had a good Easter, by the way. Mine was fantastic, but it was just a terrible thing that he did. He was at large for the past 2 days, 2 to 3 days, and the first video that I'd made, it actually went quite well, and then I gave all kinds of information, to be able to look, if you were out in that area, to be able to look for him and things like that. And I get home and find out that he killed himself like a coward. And when police found him, he ended up taking his own life.
Don't know why I couldn't have just done that
in the first place, save us all the grief and the trouble. But I want to ask a question.
My previous videos were all
very somber and dark, and I don't like making videos like that, and I think that's why it's been such an issue for me. So instead I want to ask a positive question and encourage people to
do something.
We'll get into it. First of all, before we go any further, let's take care of the housekeeping. Today I'm smoking some Peterson's Irish whiskey. Having the last little bit of Gentleman Jack from my bottle, because it's late enough.
And
I'm smoking that, not the whiskey, but I'm smoking the Irish whiskey from Peterson out of my Bones from Morgan Pipes. It's the Bones Outdoorsman series. It's the bent one. There's a straight one as well that I really like, but I like these pipes.
And the mix of the Irish whiskey,
even though Gentleman Jack is obviously not an Irish whiskey, but the mix of the whiskey with the Irish whiskey is actually quite nice. They pair really well together, as you can imagine. So,
here's my question.
With all this stuff going on in the world, it's getting to be a pretty crazy place. Things are happening every day, it seems like. And, I mean, I can't go on social media these days without seeing something awful happening to some people or some animals or all kinds of things. And it's really kind of, it's easy to get dragged down by the whole thing. Just mentally, it's fatiguing knowing that, this kind of thing happens, and that you kind of have to look over your shoulder every so often and keep your head on a swivel. And that's not a bad thing to do anyway. It's just it's how I live my life, not in a paranoid type of way, but being just in policing, you just, you constantly have your head on a swivel, and you just kind of make sure everything's okay. And it basically saves you from being a victim. Real quick, I just want to share with you a philosophy from Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. I don't think I've ever shared this before, but I will now. And it's called the Sheepdog concept. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman is a professor at West Point in psychology. And he's the world's, or at least the nation's, leading authority on in the psychology of war and combat and killing.
And he's got this great theory.
In fact, you can look up a video of it on YouTube if you like. It's called the sheepdog concept. And the concept is basically this. There's three kinds of people in the world. All right, you have the sheep. And sheep are your average citizen. They're your average good person. They have really no capacity for violence. A sheep can only hurt another sheep on accident, by accident. It's not something that they ever like to do.
And it's
they basically they're productive members of society. They do their work, and they're good people.
So that's the
General population. And then you have the wolves. Wolves are the people like Steve Stevens, this asshole who just did all the stuff over in Cleveland.
These are the people who
prey on the sheep. They have an immense capacity for violence and no remorse for harming the good, hardworking, decent people of society, the sheep. They're your sociopaths, your psychopaths, your violent criminals.
Those are the wolves. And then there's the sheepdog.
The sheepdog
Can be anybody.
doesn't have to be police, doesn't have to be military, doesn't even have to be first responders of any kind. But sheepdogs are the people in society who have the same capacity for violence that the wolves do, but they would never harm a sheep.
Depending on your capacity as
As a sheepdog, you may take charge. That would be your police officers mostly. You know, kind of being able to herd them into a safe place.
but they would never harm a sheep. And it goes much deeper
Into, you know, a sheepdog basically yearns for a righteous battle between himself and a wolf to protect his flock, kind of a thing. And it's a concept that I really, really enjoy. But my question for all of you is this. First of all, do you think you're a sheepdog, a sheep, or a wolf? Now, if you're watching this, I'm hoping that you're not a wolf. If you subscribe to me or if you watch these videos, and if you smoke a pipe, my guess is you're not a wolf. I haven't met any bad people who smoke pipes yet. I've met some people that I disagree with. I've met some people that I just don't see eye to eye with, don't get along with. But for the most part, for the vast majority, I've never ever had an issue with a fellow pipe smoker.
So that leaves that out.
But are you a sheepdog or are you a sheep? And it's an interesting question. Another question I'd like to ask is, how many of you take some sort of pride or take some sort of measure to
Learn how to defend yourself.
for your family, those you love, or just innocent people in general? How many of you would go out of your way if you saw an innocent person being harmed? How many of you would go out of your way to stop that from happening? And a lot of times you don't know if you're going to do it until that time comes. As a police officer, I have the ability to be able to say, well, yes, I would, because it's my duty to do so. And it's not because I'm getting paid to do it. It's just my mindset. It's just how my brain works. Excuse me. For some people, that's just not how your brain works.
With all
These things happening in the world, I very much encourage all of you to take some measure to not become a victim.
I see it all the time where
People say it won't happen to me or it couldn't happen to me, all these things. or, you know, guns are scary, or, um, you know, especially with females, you know, the sexual assault rate with females, very, very, very rarely is it someone that they don't know. Usually it's a friend, someone that they know, someone that they trust. So could you
Do harm to that person if
they tried doing harm to you?
it's a tough question.
Um, and again, if you, well, not even if, I very strongly encourage all of you to look into taking some sort of measure to be able to protect yourself, whether it's taking martial arts classes. Those are a great way to stay in shape, or to get in shape. They're a great way to boost your confidence, and confidence can often just be the biggest deterrent against a wolf, um, against a bad member of society. Having that mindset just to kind of check, you know, check around or park the correct way when you go to the grocery store. Be aware in your transitional spaces, just to be able to keep those things from happening. Um, it's something that crosses my mind often in my line of work, is that how many people actually take the time to be able to do this kind of thing. My favorite stories are the stories where, you know, a bad guy comes up to a perfectly good person who has taken the time to learn how to defend themselves, and they end up chasing that guy away, or even putting them on the ground so that the police can just, there they are. Those are my favorite stories. Those are my favorite things that happen, and those are honestly, those are stories that make me feel good inside, when a good person can take down a bad person or can bring justice to a bad person. Um, I love that. It's just, you know, good wins, good triumphs over evil kind of thing, and I just wanted to make this video to encourage all of you to do something like that. Whether, I mean, if you're comfortable with using a firearm, or with using, you know, a tool of violence to do, to be on the side of good on that battle, then I highly recommend that. If you don't feel like you have that capacity, if you don't feel like, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to be that Second Amendment guy who's like, you know, you need to have a gun. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, don't become a victim. Take the time to learn how to not become a victim. It's a mindset thing, it's a training thing, and it really doesn't take all that much time. A great tactical instructor for police, especially, Tony Blauer, has said this, that self-defense is just like any other life-saving skill, like first aid, CPR, or you know, doing fire drills. They're skills that take about a day to learn, the basics, but they can save lives. The only difference is that when you learn self-defense, it can save your life. So, you know, whereas with, you know, learning first aid and CPR, you can save someone else's life, which is great and totally honorable. But self-defense is something where you can save your own life as well. So why would we not take advantage of all the opportunities out there to do these kinds of things? So I hope this message reaches some of you on that level, just to click that switch on and go, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna Google martial arts schools or self-defense schools in my area, and I'm gonna try to sign up for some. Hopefully you have the time to do that. If not, there's so many outlets out there for it. If you guys have any questions about that or anything like that, please feel free to contact me or leave a comment asking, you know, what can I do to do that kind of thing. I'm always happy to give that kind of advice. Always happy to give that kind of advice. So that's my question. Hope you guys comment or even reply with a video. I love seeing those. But there it is. So until next time, guys, thanks very much for joining me, and have a great day.